So I purchased. So we were when we first originally started wholesaling nationwide. Our second lead, our like second deal we got after like 10 leads. We were like, dude, this is the greatest thing ever. We got a deal, and so we get a deal in Rialto, California. Never been there, but it's in a good area, right?
Yeah.
Rialto, and the seller wants 80,000. We're like, oh, that's a freaking deal. That we were able to find buyers at like 120. So we're like, freaking 40K. Let's go. This is amazing. So we get it at 80K. Everything seems fine. The house is vacant. All we know is a piece of trash. It's vacant. There's like it's just a terrible property. And we come to the closing, and the seller is like, I know I'm selling to you guys for way too low. I want 95,000. And we were
Mm.
noobs back then, bro. So we were like, okay. We were just like, sure. And then we gave her, we were agreed. Now I'd be like, hey lady, you don't get to decide the day of closing that you want more. We're gonna tie the sucker up because you can't do that. That's not how real estate works. But I didn't know that. So we are like, okay, sure. So that happened. And then our buyer that we had lined up bailed. So I was like, no, this is
Oof.
a good deal. We can't lose out on this. So I bought it. 95,000, never seen the house, never didn't know, but I bought it. I was like, I'll do it. So I buy the property. Later, we tried to wholesale it, or like not wholesale. We tried to sell it the next day, and we find someone like 125, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, we're still making some good money. And the guy goes to the house, and he's like, "Hey, I ain't buying this house. There's a squatter inside." And we're
Okay.
like, "What? There's a squatter?" We did not know, right? So this is California, and they got squatters' rights apparently over there.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm like, dude, just buy it. It's not a big deal. Just kick him out. He's like, dude, that's not how it works here. I ain't buying this unless you get him out. And I was like, tell the guy we'll give him $500 to get out, right? So he goes, tells the guy he's going to give him $500 to get out. And the guy's like, I ain't leaving unless you give me $2,500 and I'm going to think about it. Give me 30 days to think about it. So the squatter's like making demands, dude. And
Yo.
this is my own money at that time, $95,000. Like that's still a lot. But it's
Yeah.
like that's a lot to be holding on when you're a new guy on a house that's supposed to be vacant. That's trash. I'm like, so I was like, forget that. I'm not letting this squatter stop me from selling this deal. So after he told me that, the next day, me and my business partner got on a plane and we flew to California. We
Oh my
got in a
god.
giant um, those minivans you rent, they're like 18 passenger.
Yeah.
We got in a giant minivan, white minivan, because we were like,
Little
there was
sprinter
a big
van.
a sprinter van. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why we got it is because there was a giant gate. There was like a 10, 12-foot gate surrounding the house. So, and they had locked it. They had locked themselves in and they would jump in and out to get out. So we were like, we're going to blow this gate down if we can't break the lock. So we get full coverage on the van. We check before. We're like, hey, the guy at the rental place, we're like, you sure this is covered no matter what? And he's like, yeah, no matter what. So I'm like, all right, we're ready. So we were ready to blast this gate down with this car. But then we're like, let's call a locksmith first. So we call a locksmith.
Yeah. Smart
Luckily,
move.
the locksmith just cut that thing right off. So we didn't have to ram the gate down. Uh,
Right.
we open the gate and me and him me and my buddy roll in there. We're like, everybody get out of the house. And like a lady comes out and she's like with a man who knows what they're up to. They just ride off. The dude rides off and the girl's like, this is my boyfriend's not is at work. Like, you guys, what are you doing? We're like, hey, we gave you the opportunity, but you didn't take it. You need to leave. And she's like, okay. So she starts packing up. And in the house, it's like they've been living there for like a while. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So she dips out. She has her friend come throw all her stuff in her truck, and
Was
we're
there
like,
power and did they have
nothing,
electric? Oh,
nothing, dude. They
nothing.
were nothing, no power,
Just
nothing.
slumming it.
Just yeah, living in the dark. So uh, while we're like getting them out, we see a car roll up, and it's two Mexican guys, and I'm like, this might be him. It's time. It might get froggy right now.
Right.
So I go up to the car because I'm like not about to get rolled up on. I was gonna do the rolling. So
Right.
I was like, hey, do you guys live here? And they're like, no, that's we live here. We're the neighbors. And I was like, you guys want to get paid like $100? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, board this house up right now. And they're like, okay. So they came over with like some drills and hammers and they freaking boarded that thing up in no time. And
Nice.
while they're boarding it up, the squatter comes back from work with his boss, and his boss is like, you can't kick my employee out. This is where he lives. And I'm like getting fired up. I'm like, oh, why don't you pay your employee a little bit more money so he can live somewhere that has electricity?
Right.
And the guy's like, forget you. It got a little interesting, heated. I probably would have handled things with maybe a little bit more calmly, but I was just annoyed. Uh,
Yeah, I would be too.
he calls the police on me for kicking his squatter out. Police comes, and the guy's trying to like say, hey, this guy can't kick this guy out. This is where he lives. He's got rights. And I was like, look, I have this. This is the deed. I own the house. This guy shouldn't be living here. And the policeman pulls me and my partner aside. He's like, look, we're going to get this guy out of here. We got to get code enforcement here, though, because they can't live in a place with no electricity, no running water. It's condemned. So it took like an hour. Code enforcement, like 10 people roll in deep, and they're like, you can't live here. This is condemned. And then they got him out. But the thing that was the most frustrating was the boss the whole time was talking trash to like us, like trying to keep his employee in an abandoned house. It was the weirdest
Right.
thing.
Right.
It was
That's
crazy.
wild. That is wild.
And another thing was another
Did
thing
he
that was really
finally like
crazy.
leave with his like tail tucked between his legs once they finally went on and said, "Hey, this is condemned. You shouldn't be here."
They later on, because we asked the neighbors, we're like, hey, make sure no one tries to get back in there. Like later that day, they tried to like come in during the night, and the neighbors let us know, and we got the cops over there. So they were probably like, yeah, don't worry, we'll be back. But I was like, nah, you're not. But the thing that was the craziest is the squatter, American, like Mexican guy, like tan like me, but American, like you can tell he's raised here, but he just looks Hispanic. He was acting like the whole time like he didn't speak English. I'm like, bro, you speak English. We've been speaking English. But the cops came and they're like trying to talk to him, and he's like,
No
I don't
habla.
speak, no hablo. Yeah. And I was like, dude, you were just speaking English with me. So it was
Bro.